I got reading superintendent's.
There's no rush.
Thanks, got some.
So no, she's,
Some way.
yes, she's got a whole bunch of them over there. So you took it to truck. Car, I don't mean car. If it had been in my truck, I would have known.
Because it's sitting on there.
But me and my truck had a little problem with it.
Are you okay?
Well, they burned somebody.
Is everybody okay?
I think he but nobody's hurt. You know.
It's busy up there.
We're pulling up to the.
Looks like he's been on the golf course.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, yeah, they rescheduled.
And I asked him, I said, did you see
Yeah,
that?
Lancaster on Wednesday.
Which one's your
My son.
competition in the region or in the
He's not in
district?
the school.
Well, King William's double A.
Yeah, we'll still play it.
I know.
It's not.
You? To Labor Day weekend. That was pretty nice weather. It's nice. Yeah, to Shirley Plantation. Oh, yeah, sure. Yep, I'm sure they will. I used to duck hunt. That's very good. It's Prescott Isle right there. Yep. I had a friend who down in the water, came by fishing like
Well, I didn't think the girl in Lancaster was new though. I thought she had been here for a while. Okay.
I had.
Well, she played in the YMCA tournament. Yeah, that she's from Lancaster. Okay. Well, there wasn't. Okay.
Hey, you Dustin?
It's okay.
I get two microphones.
Well, let's slide that one.
Let's put that one here.
Since you're.
I know. $5, but I mean, you never want to. No.
Make sure Florida can hear it. I don't say nothing.
Man. I know you love it.
That's just teasing.
You know Thursday is. You can have it. Seriously. It is Zoom. And it is the HRETACII business meeting. Go to also.
Business meeting when I go to there is a superintendent.
Okay.
Always
This-
trying to.
That's what I thought also. I thought is what Kate told me.
No, it's only a 45-minute meeting.
Right.
The census is not too big. So we'll.
So it says it's from 9:30 to 11. Do you want me to forward you this email? Well, it says this is from 9:30 to 11. It says this meeting is 9:30 to 11. All business. meetings. So is that, I know Kate told me that there was part that we both attended and then part that he attended.
That's correct. Yes, there's a superintendent.
It doesn't say anything separate for superintendent. Upcoming CII fall business meeting, Thursday the 16th. Let's see, the agenda will be sent next week and I haven't seen that. So I emailed her I told her that I was not, this is Angela, when I say her, that I was not able to attend because I had another meeting at the same time.
What's the name of that program you don't have with it? You can't.
Preaching communities.
Bridging communities.
Much to talk to. You always have some speaker or something, but sometimes it's really not. I'm glad it's just to support. I think
I mean, most of it is pretty, most of it is figured out before we get there.
oh, sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing that never voted on anything.
Controversial.
All right, I will forward you this and you can look at it.
Okay.
I'll send it to your phone.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. See.
Okay. Okay, but otherwise, yeah.
Otherwise,
Okay, all righty, thank you.
so what you been doing, Doc?
Mr. Davis in the parking lot.
What you been doing? Everything good?
Grab party,
Oh, you still, I thought you put them down.
put them down in the water. I
Now,
wouldn't
look,
do
you
it, but I
gotta
have
do-
to have something to do on Saturday. Sunday.
I thought that you had stopped.
Well, I'm fixing it at the end of this month.
Okay. Have the crabs been keeping up pretty good?
Yeah, I think they're at a stands to the matter. The crabber can make some money and people can afford to eat them.
Right.
Before it was awful what they had to pay for.
That was unbelievable. You know.
She knows this is cold.
Pretty
It's only the second time she's
cool.
wanted to get ice cold. I told her I took her on the weekend.
25 or 30, you know, a day.
We said,
And they were generally always saying that.
Yeah. Well,
This year, then.
Show me Michael.
How's it going?
Robinson Creek, it's tremendous. That's where I live. right in
Yeah.
Robinson.
You know, a lot of times-
Like
Right across from Rufus's place.
Oh, yeah, I know.
On that side. And they've been
Well, they said-
pushing for to get out of
The
there.
ice cold.
But then if you go around the other places, it's been sickly.
Take those down. so-
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm gonna hang it up after this,
Right.
this month, yeah.
And
And for good. I hope.
Yeah. We're fooling with them, you know, it's kind of fun. but-
I enjoy it, but you like to compete too, so you got to have a good number of box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Did a good job.
Gotta be better.
I'm not stuck like this, not lucky. The Middlesex County School Board meeting for September 13th, 2021 is now in session. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair will entertain a motion to go out of closed session.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board discussed personnel matters and legal matters during closed session. Matters discussed in closed session have been added to the consent agenda and other parts of the agenda as action and information items. Will members of the board certify that only lawful matters were discussed in closed session? And please answer via roll call.
Mr. Goforth,
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Shores,
Yes.
Mr. Harrow,
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Socek,
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Will please stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sites, some recognition.
Some recognition. So I don't have certificates. Peggy asked me if I wanted certificates, but I would have had to have made, she would have made too many. Because as I thought about this September meeting and who should be recognized, it was just immediately I thought just about the work that goes into getting our schools open and our administrators and all of our support people that work throughout the summer to get our building open. And it seems like this summer has just been an extra long or difficult summer to make that work happen, whether it's coordinating our bus routes or making sure our technology is going to be up and running, that all of our schools are ready to be open and our professional development is in place and the hiring and all of those things that take place. So it's really just I really want to thank all of our team members and the time and the efforts that they put into getting all of our buildings open for this year. Way too many to name.
All right, Ms. Wilkins.
And she needs a microphone also.
Thank you. I'm Katie Wilkins. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the gifted coordinator for Middlesex. And I'm here to talk to you about some of the educational highlights for some of our summer programs that we had, summer enrichment programs. And the first one is the Middle Peninsula Summer Regional Governor's School, which is held every year. It's a regional program for our gifted identified students. And they had some extra challenges this year because they were forced to go virtual. And we did have some of our gifted students did participate in it. And there's a few people I wanted to recognize with it. We had two amazing MES teachers that taught at this program, and I cannot speak highly enough of them about how they represented Middlesex County as professionals and as just exemplary educators. And those teachers are Ms. Kristen Connolly, who couldn't be here tonight, and Ms. Nicole Nuske. They taught a class called the Arcadia Mania, and I've put together a little slideshow from bits and pieces of what they've done. And Ms. Nuske, if you'd like to come up and say a few words about your course.
Good evening. Hello. So my name is Nikki Nuske. Like Katie said, I am a 5th grade teacher at MES, teach math, science, and history this year. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous to start this program because it is the gifted, like it's all gifted students and they're so high. And I thought, how can I take these high students and make them reach further? And at first, Kristen and I, and she couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately, but we spent hours and hours and hours thinking, okay, how can we make this awesome in person? And then it got switched to virtual. So we totally scratched our plans and started over and thought, how can we reach them and get them excited sitting in front of the camera all day long? And so we kind of broke it up into segments and we made it as engaging as possible. We started every day with a game that we played, and I'm pointing over here because my student is on deck and we're going to talk about him in a second. I'm so excited. But basically, Arcade Mania, we thought pretty much every kid these days loves what? Video games. So we thought, okay, because we really had the freedom to create whatever we wanted. So I thought, well, geez, every kid loves video games, right? And so you hear them talking about it and you see them playing them for hours and hours. And so I thought, okay, let's bring this into an educational setting. So we thought we would bring like science, technology, engineering, architecture, and math into this program. And so that's what we did. We're going to show you in just a few minutes some highlights of all of our engineers, and you can see Krishna up there on the screen, and we're going to talk about her. She was from a different district. But their challenge was to create an arcade game, so something you would see like if you go into an actual arcade. And they had to use a simple working machine, so something like an inclined plane, which Joshua over here is going to show you in a little while. My student in the top left corner, she actually used a screw. Oop, she was there. She used a screw. So when they first started with us, not only were we getting to know them because they're from all these different districts, but we surely did have our fun, but we also had time throughout the day where it was just full on instruction. And so we talked about what are the steps to the engineering process, because a lot of the students, they're from 3rd grade to 5th grade. So some of these kids are only 8 years old. So we felt like we had to talk about like, what is the engineering process? Like first you have a question or a problem that you're faced with. And then, you've posed a hypothesis, and how are you going to plan and improvise? And if something doesn't work the first time, do you just give up, and all of those things. So we talked about that. Their challenge again was to at least use one simple machine. And these things just blew me away, and Kristen away. I mean, seriously, we gave them these things and we just said, just go for it. And you're going to see, I mean, seriously amazing. This one, flick ball, I mean, that's not something you would see in a normal Arcade Mania, or an arcade at all, but they came up with their own game from their own heart and poured their soul into it in only 5 days. They only had 5 days to create this. So it was a very fast moving program, but they just took it and ran with it. And so we really missed them. We wish they could all be at Middlesex, but they're phenomenal. So without further ado, I do have to say really quick though, there is a student you might see on here. He actually created a claw machine, like from Toy Story, like the claw, He didn't get a chance to finish it, but it was absolutely amazing as well. But we do have somebody here tonight, and he's actually my 5th grade student right now. So he's stuck with me all year long too, summer and all year. But Joshua Huntley, if you could come on up and bring up your arcade game, he's going to show it off and tell you what he had to do to create it and how it works.
Okay, this is my game called Zombie Outbreak, and it's pretty simple. I used an inclined plane to hold these zombies up, which would be your scores, and a lever as your launcher. And here would be your ball holster. Right here, you put it there, pull back to fire. That was a very bad one. And once you hit a zombie, it has the amount of points that you get on it. And if it hits the wall or the floor before it hits it, then it's half the points. If you hit multiple zombies, then you add it up and then double it. So if you get through here, the jackpot, you get 100,000 points. That was only ever made, only one person has made it through there, and that was me. On the side, you have further instructions, and on this side is the high score.
So Josh just showed you an incredible game that he came up with all on his own. But on the side, they had to talk about, if someone walked up to your game in an arcade, would they know how to play? Do they need tickets? Do they need money? Do they need a fun card or a pass card? So on the side, they had to actually type up, if no one's ever seen this before, how do they play? And we have a high score on the side, which he added, which is really fancy. So yeah, the Josh is, I think, 1 out of 13 students we had, and they were just all incredible. We have the Hole of Doom up there. Monster fishing was a great one. Pinball Paradise. So there were just a bunch of super creative, and again, just they came right out of their own heads and they just ran with it. So it was really inspiring to see, and I can't wait to do it again. So thank you. Right. So we had a lot of students from Gloucester County Public Schools. We had Joshua as our only Middlesex for our grade level. And then we had students from King and Queen County. Trying to think of, we had Matthew students from Matthew County. And I think
Yeah,
that might be it.
it's a regional program for
Mhm.
gifted students that we always participate in.
Yeah.
But just seeing how I got to sit in on a little bit of all of the classes and just seeing how amazing Miss Nusky and Miss Connolly put this together and how engaged the students were, really was just blown away by what awesome educators they are, and they really made a meaningful experience for our students. So
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Ms. Nusky, and thank you, Joshua. And the second item that I'd like to speak with you guys about or to highlight tonight is the summer enrichment program for Middlesex. The other program was a regional program for gifted students. And before Dr. Gretz left, he, in the winter, approached me and said, could we come up with some sort of program like the Middle Peninsula Summer Regional Governor's School, but for our Middlesex students, and dream big, see what you can put together. And so we worked on it as a team and came up with an enrichment program for our students, and any student, gifted or not identified gifted, could participate. And we held it here at St. Clair Walker, and we had reached out to our teachers, whoever wanted to teach whatever they wanted to teach, something to get kids excited about school again, because last year was such a rough year for many of us. There were many successes, but it was rough for many of us. So just some fun enrichment courses. And so in the enrichment camp, we had teachers who offered to teach a variety of different courses. We had the Kids Canvas Art Camp, which is the picture that you saw on the last slide, taught by Ms. Riley. We had an elementary and a middle school art camp, and they did several different art canvas pieces. It was really, really neat. We had a drone designers camp, which there's a picture. The middle school students that participated in that camp actually built that drone, and that was the last day when they flew it right there. You can see them right there out in front of St. Clair Walker. We also had a Spanish camp taught by one of our high school teachers, and an elementary and a middle school level Spanish camp. And as Ms. Nusky said, the kids are really enjoy video games. So I taught a video game design camp as well. And we had a really good response for the summer enrichment program. We had a lot of kids that participated, and everything went very smoothly. And I'm really hoping that it's something that we can continue in the future for our students. Our teachers did an awesome job. It was just the kids were engaged. We never had a single issue at all. And it was just a great time was had by all. So I'm hoping that it's something that we can continue in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the additions to the agenda? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions about the financial additions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Public announcements. September is Suicide Prevention Month. September the 13th through the 19th is National Arts and Education Week. September the 24th is the end of interim grading period. September the 29th is interim grades issued. October the 1st is homecoming football game against Matthews. And October the 11th is the next school board meeting at St. Clair Walker Middle School in the auditorium at 6:30. The floor is open for public comment. Seeing none. Public comment.
Good evening. My name is Davelyn Gresham, and I am a resident of Urbana. Earlier during the school year, rather last school year, at the end in May, there was a talent show held here at the middle school. And during that broadcast, someone came on and said the N-word several times. I sent a letter to the superintendent, Gretz, which Dr. Seitz responded to. However, I haven't seen anything since then saying how it was addressed or would it be addressed. And I'm very concerned about that. Nothing was said to the students to address the issue. And the parents that did not receive the robocall never received a letter or anything indicating that something had happened. So I want to know what you intend to do. And my thoughts are there needs to be a system-wide plan, excuse me, for addressing racial issues that come up in the classroom. There should be training for faculty and staff on what to do when something happens so that they are prepared to mitigate the impact on the students. The training should be specific to the age group of the students. And in the case of the racist intrusion on the talent show, the school system needs to conduct a thorough investigation to determine how it happened, who is responsible, and then most importantly, what can be done to diminish the chances of something like that happening again. So I need to hear what the conclusion is and why the children were never addressed concerning that issue. Nothing was ever said to the students. There was no letter that went out, which is supposed to go out when an incident happens. So can somebody tell me who dropped the ball? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham.
Good evening. My name is Charlene Gresham, and I'm a resident of Urbana, and my son is a student at St. Clair Walker. As a parent, I had some concerns with the upcoming school year, particularly around if there was going to be an option for virtual learning. I understand some parents preferred in-person learning, but for myself, the virtual option during this pandemic should have been made available to every student, regardless of a medical risk or not. On April 28th, an email was sent to parents offering the virtual Virginia program. The email was sent to parents stating alternative enrollments were intended for only those students for whom there is a very clear circumstance directly preventing them from returning to school. I signed my son up because COVID cases were still on the rise in our county. And as his parent, I felt virtual learning was a safer alternative. However, my son was denied because he did not have a pre-existing medical condition that made him a high risk to return for in-person learning. As a parent, I felt backed into a corner and unsupported by my son's school system, the same school system that I attended. It seemed to me that it was a biased decision to only offer this alternative to students with a pre-existing medical condition. I've heard data was provided showing in-school learning was more beneficial for students. For some students, it might work. However, I don't agree with this assessment because my son became an AB honor roll student with virtual learning. The teachers were available to him. I was available as a parent to work with him and to meet the needs of his educational experience. Now that the Delta variant is targeting children, Middlesex County needs to adopt a virtual option. Based on the email being sent out by our superintendent, Tracy Seitz, there are a total of 16 positive COVID cases and 72 students have been quarantined since school started in August. And that's what we know of through contact tracing. We are just beginning our 4th week of in-person learning, and I'm curious to see what the increase in numbers will be sent out in this Friday's email, since we are no longer receiving daily updates, which, by the way, giving weekly updates does not make it less impactful on the students. It just may delay the responses from the parents. The bottom line, Middlesex County school system can't go backwards. We can move forward. We can be proactive. You all can become partners with parents and open up the virtual option so our children don't continue to feel like test cases or case studies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham.
Thank you.
My name is Jerry Reyes and I live in Urbana. I'm a Urbana resident and I have 2 students that go to 2 different schools. One of the concerns that I'm having right now is I understand the masks. When I'm asked to mask, I'll respect that and do it. The problem that I'm having is I had emailed the principal for the middle school and I was told that the students would get mask breaks. And I'm learning that they're not getting any mask breaks at all. The only break they get is during lunch. And I totally disagree with that. I think that mask breaks needs to be implemented with students. It's to my understanding that not all teachers in the schools are wearing their masks all the time. And if my kid is going to be required to wear a mask the entire school day, with the exception of when they eat lunch, then teachers should be required to wear it too. My youngest son that attends the middle school has told me that if he even slightly pulls his mask down for 2 seconds, he's told he needs to hurry up and put it back on. If people are afraid of COVID like that, then the schools need to close. Because if a person pulls their mask down because they need to breathe a second, then they should be allowed to do that. And so I just want answers of, are they going to implement mask breaks? Because I thought they were, and I found out that they were not doing that. I know that lunch breaks and things like that have been cut short due to, what's going on with COVID. And I can, like I said, respect the mask breaks, but I think that mask breaks needs to be considered with the school and let these kids have a slight break. I mean, they're already social distancing each other. I don't like the fact that one of my kids is having to do physical education with a mask on. Running with a mask on. Why? If something happens to my kid, I'm going to be really upset because they shouldn't be having to do stuff like that. If physical education is where he has to wear a mask at while they're doing the physical education, then maybe they need to take PE and gym out of the school for right now. And I'm talking about the middle school. I'm not talking about the high school. I'm talking about, what has been brought to my attention from my son that attends middle school. And I do agree with Ms. Gresham as well, as far as the virtual learning. I wanted her to go before me because I wanted to piggyback off of that. I think that a parent should have a choice whether they want to send their kid to school or not. I know people say, well, just homeschool your kid. Well, sometimes parents, people like me, you can ask principals or teachers that know me. I'll tell you right now, I don't have the patience. I'm not a teacher, but I do think that parents should be given that option. I don't think that if a parent feels uncomfortable sending their kid to school due to COVID, then they should be able to have that right to have virtual learning for their students. So that's all I really wanted to say. I agree with Ms. Gresham, and I would like for y'all to please consider some mask breaks, because for a kid to be yelled at for pulling a mask down, if they needed to breathe, that's just wrong to me. And that's all I have to say. And I hope y'all have a great night. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ms. Reyes.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time? All right, public comment is closed this time. Board members, reports, Mr. Goforth.
Don't we have any additional reports tonight?
Okay. Dr. Shores, anything from the,
No, we will be meeting by Zoom tomorrow night.
okay, all right. Mr. Hara,
I understand we're meeting by Zoom on Thursday morning.
okay, all right. Everybody's zooming these days. And my regional special education board doesn't meet again until November, so it'll be then when I have a report. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Otherwise, is there, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right, action items. Dr. Sykes, we have some appropriation.
Appropriation, starting on page 31, actually on page 32. And the first one is carryover for federal programs. It's titled 1, 2, 3, 5, and then IDEA Part B, which is special education, and that's carrying those funds over from fiscal 21 to fiscal 22. We have carryover every year in those areas that we're able to move forward.
All right.
We've got-
These as a group or?
How would you like to do that? Whichever.
um,
The next three are ESSER.
All right, let's do this one first then.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the appropriation request of carryover funds?
Second.
Any questions about these? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right.
Okay, the next three, as I said, are ESSER funds. So the first one is ESSER 2, and that is that exact figure is what was designated to us from the state. And so you can see where we've outlaid that in the bottom here, bottom section. The next one, ESSER 2, the set aside grant funds were actually when the state, when they gave all of the localities their funds for ESSER 2, they had some that they kept aside, and school divisions were able to apply specifically for amounts that they wanted. We did apply for certain things that we wanted to use for unfinished learning, and we were awarded that just over $209,000 there. So that's that one appropriation. And then the last appropriation is our last round of grant funding, and that's the ESSER 3. And we just submitted that application just 2 weeks ago for that one. So we're asking for that to be appropriated also.
Is there a motion to approve these three ESSER requests? For a second?
Second.
Anybody have any questions about these funds?
Yeah, what is the capital outlay addition in that second appropriation?
In the ESSER 3.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, Sharon's gonna probably have to help me on this one, and maybe even, part of what we're looking at is redoing or some of our bathroom facilities at the elementary and the middle to move. We're looking at touchless fixtures in all of those places, stalls that go up that are completely, not quite 100% private, but more private of where they are there. And in at least one of the restroom areas in both of the schools, moving sinks out. So that's not a congregation place inside of the bathrooms, that they would use the closed stalls inside and then come out for hand washing. I know that was one of them.
It was, about 10 items make up this want to take care of. This is not just one project.
And that will have to be good.
Depending on what that number comes back at. We don't
Yes.
quite know what that is. This is just putting an earmark.
I've got the entire application.
You have the entire application?
I do.
Okay. I'm just curious.
But yes,
Okay.
that estimate was put in just as an earmark. We didn't have to get the application in, but as these items get firmed up and the amounts get firmed up, we'll be true this is what but this number isn't one project. It's about 10 or 15 items.
Right. That's
that
what I'm,
make up this number.
and that's what I'm looking at now.
That's
Smart boards fell into that area also. Air and surface purifiers, we're looking for some additional purifying systems that go into each of the classrooms, and then those filters that would have to be replaced. Hydroxyl blasters, which were similar to the systems that were being put, we're looking at for classrooms, but would go into larger square footage areas like cafeterias and gyms. Upgrading, let's see, HVAC in the carpentry and athletic training rooms at the high school until we have a more permanent solution there. And then bus router program also. So like Karen said, it was a few different things that we had listed in that category.
And the reason they're in category 8,000 is because they're over $5,000, but not necessarily over $50,000 to require an RFP. And so that's why the state asks us to put that in 8,000.
The funds do have to be spent by when?
This particular award is 2024.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I'm sorry, 2024.
Okay, any other? All right, all those in favor of the 3 appropriations indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Now we have our Title III consortium application. I feel like you're here every month.
You know, I miss seeing you all, so I just keep coming back.
It's lovely to see you. Bless your heart, you've always done that.
It's all good. It's part of the job, right? So hello, Madam Chair and school board members and Dr. Seitz and Dr. Bishop. I'm here tonight to, hand you the Title III statewide consortium application. Title III monies are used to help our students who are English learners, including immigrant children who need to learn English and gain English proficiency and develop high levels of academic achievement. And it's to also support our teachers, administrators, and division level leaders in developing and enhancing their capacity to provide effective instructional practices. So there's actually a formula that's used. We are in this with many other divisions. We get less than $10,000 because of the low number of students we have. And we actually this year received 2,000, I think it's, I had to write it on a different sheet because I couldn't see it, $2,947.13. Last year was $2,968.76. So as you can see, it's not a large amount of money, but it supports instructional materials for the teacher and also professional development.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the Title III consortium application for 21-22? The second?
Second.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Velez? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we have the IGAI character education policy on the second reading.
Before that, I would like to say, since Mrs. Velez, as you noted, is here quite frequently to present her reports, I did just receive a letter just within the past few weeks from VDOE on the annual performance report and revised state performance plan that Mrs. Velez is responsible for, and how we meet all of the requirements for that, which is no easy task for the multiple requirements in the area of special education. So I did want to point that out, that not only did we meet it, and out of the total points of 40 that can be earned, we earned 39 with a 98% performance, which again is almost unheard of in the area.
Excellent.
A great job. We love seeing her here.
I didn't mean to imply that. I was just thinking, bless your heart. You have one of these, and these are not simple forms to fill out. I mean, I'm sure they require a great deal of time. Thank you.
They did. All right, so now, yes, the policy IGAI, you all saw last month on first reading, and at that time, it was only a code change that was in it, so no change to the actual policy.
So is there a motion to approve on second reading, IGAI?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on this policy? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right. We are at, so I guess I need to turn page here. Abel, Mr. Harris here, is going to give us an update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I bring to you the Honeywell update for the MES rooftop project. The latest update is the controls upgrades at the school are 95% complete. Again, that's basically the whole automation side of it and all the VAV box controllers. Remaining work consists of startup of the hot water system to prepare for heating season. Integration with new train rooftop units to be completed once new units are online. The mechanical contractor has reworked the hot water piping to the rooftop units for the upcoming replacements. And the plan is still to replace the 2 units on the gym roof over Thanksgiving break. And the remaining 3 units will be replaced during Christmas break. And all of the rooftop units, along with the curb adapters, are at the crane yard in Richmond. So everything is a stone's throw away. It's now just being able to marry it all together. Any questions on that as of now? Yes, ma'am.
Changing subject.
Yes, go ahead.
The water.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
For the middle school and elementary.
As far as the hookup?
Yeah.
So I have worked with, waiting, should have a quote back. It's supposed to be the end of last week. So I'm going to reach out back out to Power and Flow Solutions. They're the same contractors who did all the hookups at our 2 pump houses here. They're very familiar with that. So they're very familiar with what needs to happen as far as what to bypass, what to take out of the equation to hook it up so that our schools, will, benefit from having that city hookup with less disruption as possible. So that is, once I get that quote, I'll go to the county, Matt Walker, and give them that number, depending upon the price there to see what our next steps are. But when we last met with the engineer of the project and Greg Chambers, we were looking at a late fall, winter hookup. So that's where we stand there.
So maybe Thanksgiving or.
That'd be nice.
I mean.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not looking at disruption.
No, that would be something they'd have to come in over the weekend. If they can get it done in that time span, I don't see why they couldn't, but it wouldn't be something they could do during a typical school day. So. Yeah, the county's already footed all this. So yeah, that's no cost to us.
Then we'll have to start paying for it.
Correct. We would go through it similar to what we're doing with the high school. Any other questions? Yeah, so maybe in a year from now, we'll be real good shape. All righty, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Dr. Beaker?
Oh, good evening. Thank you. We've gotten off to a really good start this year. This is our 4th week back. It seems like it's been longer and it seems like it's been shorter, depending on who you ask. The students are getting more acclimated to the 5-day-a-week and being here every day. Just want to let you know that a few things that in order to continue our program, in order to make sure that we're we're providing the students exactly what they need. We have MAP tests that we're giving. These are nationally normed tests, and we're giving those through kindergarten through 8th grade, and K through 2 is a fluency test. So it's able to predict dyslexia. So it's math and reading. So we're excited to get those that data back so that we can really hone in on what the students need. We also have PALS testing, which is for K through 5. It's a screener for reading difficulties. And then we also have the VKRP. So this is a lot of testing in terms of the amount, but it's all of it has there's a different reason for it. So the VKRP is for math and also social skills. And then of course, the General Assembly has required the schools to do SOL through testing. So we'll test the students in math and reading in the fall, the winter, and the spring to kind of gauge their progress throughout that. So those are assessments that we have at Middlesex, but we can't just use the data. We're going to use the data to really inform our instruction. So we're working towards that. Just a few more things in curriculum. Middlesex is part of the pilot for the Virginia World History pilot. So looking at performance assessments for World History 1 and 2. So our teachers are ready for that. We're really working with RCC has a grant, almost $250,000, not just for us, but for regionally for the 11 school districts to help with increasing dual enrollment and dual enrollment opportunities for us. So we're really looking at that hard. And of course, next Wednesday is our professional development day. So teachers are working together and having professional development. So we're working hard in the classrooms and the students are working hard as well. Any questions?
About how long are the tests?
So the SOL through testing is approximately 17 questions. That's the one that's given, and it's a CAT test. It's a computer adapted test.
Okay.
The MAP test is about 40 questions. It depends on, and that's another computer adapted test too. It could be 25 to 42 questions. So if you get something right, it's going to be something harder. And then the PALS test if it's an individual test, it takes about 20 minutes to assess, as well as the VKRP. So overall, it's a lot of testing, and I caution against that, but I think that's really appropriate right now, so that we can really gauge where the students are and then use that. And it's the most important part is using that data and looking at that. And Steve Dunkel and Jess Croswell are going to use that data and put in PowerSchool Analytics and really kind of look at all that data together to make sure that we're making informed decisions.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? The floor is open for public comments.
I'm Jerry Reyes again. I'm confused about something. Dr. Seitz and I, we've been going back and forth with email, so she knows how I feel about certain things. But one of the things that I have a question about is the response that you gave to me in one of the emails. Anyone who has been vaccinated is found to be a close contact and not required to quarantine staff and students. The CDC still recommends getting a test 3 to 5 days after exposure, but is not required. That concerns me because the vaccine does not prevent a person from catching COVID. So I don't expect any answers here, but I would like for somebody to email me and talk to me about when a person is vaccinated, how come, whether it's a student or teacher, they don't have to quarantine? I'm confused. Because it leads people to believe that, okay, you're vaccinated now, so you can't possibly catch COVID. And I can tell you, I have a friend that did get the vaccine. She is laying up in ICU as we speak on a respirator because she caught COVID after the vaccine. So if somebody could clarify that for me, I would appreciate it, because I'm not understanding If a student gives another student COVID, all right, so they're vaccinated, so they get to stay in school, but an unvaccinated student has to go home and be under quarantine. And I don't understand that. So if somebody could email me or talk to me about that, I'd appreciate that. And that was the other thing I left out. And that was all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, public comment is now closed. Dr. Sykes, superintendent's report.
Superintendent's report. So a few things to cover. So normally, or starting in the October board meeting, there will be a report on enrollment. But since we were just finishing up the 10-day enrollment, and the numbers that we have now technically are not official because we still have some movement of students that will happen to determine where they're enrolled if they have not shown up with us yet. Everyone doesn't have that, or everyone does have that?
Everyone does have.
Everyone has the 10-day enrollment. So I just wanted to give you an update of where we are with the financial report.
Okay. Not in your packet, but it's- Okay.
And that we based our, just as a reminder, we based our FY22 budget on 1080. And then when we factor out our students that are attending governor school and such, we are at about 1,100 right now. So about 20 over where we budgeted, which looks, so that looks good for us. We'll have a count at the end of September, and then the spring count happens at the end of March. So just an update because you won't get an official report until the October board meeting, but that lets you know how we've at least started the year.
Those students that are in virtual Virginia are included in the ADU.
Yes. Any other questions about enrollment? All right, so next, just as an update on where we are with COVID, as you were already aware, we provided a weekly email on Fridays at the beginning of when we first had students identified, students or staff identified, instead of doing a daily update. We moved the update into a weekly update to families and staff, and that's kept through communication with the principals. It's interesting, it's the way it's kind of happened the past 2 weekends is that there's not been cases so much in the school during the week. They're finding out on a Sunday or not coming to school on Monday that there has been a positive, and that's what has caused the contact tracing to go back into the previous week. So that's what that looks like. Positive cases so far. First week we had 7 in buildings or buses. Second week 7. Third week 3. And then quarantine numbers have dropped slightly also as we've made some adjustments to what our mitigation strategies were in the beginning. So just as a reminder for this year, students and staff, students who are fully masked can be within 3 feet of each other in the classroom and outside also, as long as they're fully masked. It would not be required to quarantine if they're 3 feet or over. Anytime students are not masked, which lunch is a perfect example of not being masked, then they need to be 6 feet apart. And so that was causing some of the quarantining at the beginning of the year. So we went back to making adjustments at all 3 of the schools and making that space so that the students are 3 feet apart, which meant the high schools now also back to lunch in the cafeteria and the media center. St. Clair Walker was able to space out enough out here that they could have that distance. And the elementary school needed to split between cafeteria and classroom because they do have a large number of kids who were in the cafeteria at one time. So Laser Clean has been great to work with on that because that does require just not cleaning crew in the cafeterias, but now in all of the classrooms at lunchtime, which can get a little messy with little ones. You can see in the report in the beginning of the school board packet, when we have the department reports, the nutrition department had planned on an alternative breakfast, which is considered a second breakfast at the high school or grab and go at the middle, which means breakfast is still being served in the cafeteria, but they were giving kids an extra opportunity to grab breakfast, which also meant that they needed to eat that in the classrooms. So we have put that on pause because of our inability to keep that 6 feet of distance in the classrooms. And so the alternative, not breakfast, because they still are able to get breakfast in the cafeteria, but the alternative piece of it when they have to eat it in the classroom has been put on pause. We have posted for an additional nursing position, which is a full-time but temporary position to assist our nurses with contact tracing and phone calls to work with families on return to school plans. The Department of Health is updated on a regular basis whenever we're contacted about a positive case and the contact tracing is completed. That information is shared with the health department, and then they also have their contact tracers work on that communication. And that takes place into the evenings and weekends also when that communication is taking place. So that's an update on where we are there. We also, in working with the health department, have scheduled a student and staff vaccine clinic. That is September 24th, which is a Friday. And that's for any students who are 12 years of age and older. Parents do not have to be present with them as long as they're in the school building. We act in that role, but parents do need to complete the registration form and sign the registration form, which gives permission for the vaccine to take place. And so the health department will be here at St. Phil Walker for the morning, and then they will move to the high school for the afternoon for any students who would like to take advantage. They don't have to be transported anywhere else. And then also staff who would like to take advantage of that, who have not already. And then lastly, just an update, we had posted an RFP for the Middlesex High School master plan. We did receive 3 proposals for that. And we made a decision to actually have all 3 companies come in, give their presentations and allow us to ask more questions. That takes place on Wednesday, but after we scheduled that, we did hear back from one who felt like because of the workload they already have, they would not be in a position to give us all of the time that we needed for that plan. And so we certainly appreciated and respected that. And that was one of the criteria also, is that they have the time and ability to do a thorough study for us and to give us a plan that would meet our needs. That's what I have for you.
All right. Anybody any questions about the sites? Sounds like you're pretty busy.
Very busy.
It's a good thing. Any old business to come for the group? Any new business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.